It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Who's got a hammer?
Round the nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. We got stories. We're going to dive into it here real soon. But hopefully everybody's having a pretty good day. So, hey, great. If you are, awesome. If you're not, hopefully your day just gets a little bit better. How nice. All right. So that said, we got a lot of stories here. We got an update on the Hamburglar story, the Biden Hamburglar. That's fun. Fox News melts down. We've got not racist nurse saying, I'm sorry, a racist nurse saying I'm not racist. But we've got a CEO going after a teenager, and there are repercussions. And then we have a video of the police officers that arrested that 73-year-old dementia, woman with dementia, fist bumping. So, great. That said, we got a lot of stuff here. A lot of commentary. So let's dive in. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. And of course, dono is always welcome. With that said, let's go. I'm really liking these lower thirds here. Just dropping the beef. All right. A Fox News host is backpedaling after he lied about Joe Biden banning your hamburgers. Remember how they want to take your meat? They want to steal your meat. They just want to get their hands all over your meat. You know, Joe Biden does, and just take it away and limit you to 4 pounds a year. Well, I told you the origin about this and how Fox News and conservative media basically had a field day about this. And one of the people that had taken this story that originally came out of the Daily Mail, which was an interpretation of a study done by the University of Michigan, it ended up over in, like I said, on Fox News and started by John Roberts, who's host of the afternoon show America Reports. It's Reports from America. And, well, here's what he said after getting hammered with fact checks. Take a look.
On Friday, we told you about a study from the University of Michigan to give some perspective on President Biden's ambitious climate change goals. That research from 2020 found that cutting back how much red meat people eat would have a drastic impact on harmful greenhouse gas emissions. The data was accurate, but a graphic and a script incorrectly implied that it was part of Biden's plan for dealing with climate change. That is not the case.
That is not the case. I don't know why that got cut off. But that's not the case. And again, on Friday, the segment that he's apologizing for said that found that people need to say goodbye to their meat. They're going to take your meat.
I like my meat tight.
Everybody on Fox News was very concerned because they like their meat tight.
Tighten up my meat.
And so, yeah, it turned out, again, to be absolutely false. So there's Fox News. Now, he's, of course, not the first and only host to have apologized for this meat grabbing, this hamburglar comment. You also have Larry Kudlow doing this famous mea culpa.
No, of course I know beer is plant-based. Some people can't take a joke. Some people responded with an even worse joke. Take Chuck Schumer, who tweeted last night, and I quote, "Excited to be watching the Oscars with an ice-cold plant-based beer. Thanks, Joe Biden. And by the way, Schumer, didn't your mother tell you not to sit too close to the TV? You'll strain your eyes." And by the way, I didn't say Biden was in favor of only plant-based food. I was citing a Michigan survey. So get new glasses, Mr. Schumer. And folks, it's plant-based.
No, it's a joke. I didn't really mean it. I mean, look, I showed you that segment. It speaks for itself. And then goes on to attack Chuck Schumer for making this kind of a cringy joke. I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I was like, oh, for Chuck Schumer, it's pretty clever. That's hilarious. Now, again, all of this came from the Daily Mail, which is a Rupert Murdoch publication. And again, they talked about the University of Michigan, what would happen if, to greenhouse gases, if people voluntarily reduce their meat consumption, right? This was not about government mandated meat reductions. Didn't even talk about Joe Biden. But of course, never, and this is Fox News' motto, it should be, never in the way of a good lie. Remember, I have talked about how conservative media, OAN, Newsmax, you've got, Alex Jones, InfoWars, they have war on info, and apparently they're winning. They're winning against info. With all those millions of subscribers. And I showed you another video where there was somebody who used to be a producer in these channels. And what they would do is they would lie on purpose, lie to whip people up into a frenzy. And that's exactly what happened here. Okay. As correspondent for ITN 5 News, Vincent McAvinney points out correctly, is, quote, "Scripts and graphics don't just end up on the air. For the script, there is a drafting, fact-checking, fact-checking, that's a good one, for Fox News, and a review process by multiple people before it goes in the running order. Graphics are detailed, commissioned, sometimes taking hours to have built properly. This was no simple mistake." It's true. It's true. It is no simple mistake. Fox News isn't some streamer, bro, that the host, with the host also doing all the research and production. This isn't my show. Okay. Look, they're $1 billion operation, and they regularly put out fake news, which gets spread around the conservative echo chamber, and the other hosts, they repeat it. And then, of course, Republican politicians like Lauren Boebert and Texas Governor Greg Abbott also repeat it. None of those people have taken it back because now the genie is out of the bottle. Guaranteed that you will, from now on, going forward, you're going to see and hear conversations, conservative message boards, Twitter, social media, et cetera, how Biden is going to ban your burger. It's the same old bullshit that we saw with the Green New Deal. It's going to ban air travel and cow farts. How are you going to stop cows from farting? Seriously, it's completely ridiculous. It's the same old bullshit. And it's so patently ridiculous that most regular people are like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? This is stupid. But again, Fox News does it for a reason. Okay. Fox News wants to paint the left as insane and their policy position. This is the party that, again, that believes Jesus is white and that racism doesn't exist. And they've done all sorts of ridiculous segments. And they say that Biden is a communist, Marxist, Leninist. Complete ridiculousness. They're so far away from truth. And they do so, again, on purpose. And they do so also because it gets the viewers. The viewers, the hardcore, right-wingers, the Trumpists, things like that, they will believe all of these insane things. And they think, well, the Democrats are crazy. They want to ban my burger. They want to ban my car. Which, no, that's not at all true. And the Republican politicians and Fox News, they love this because those people, if you're able to trick somebody into thinking that, that Biden wants to ban your hamburger, then you're going to vote for the person who ultimately wants to reduce taxes for people who work at Fox News, corporations as well. So, yeah, it's all about greed. It's all about money. And all the lies that help them continue to dominate cable, the cable ratings, essentially, because that brings in advertisers. So it really doesn't matter that they have backtracked on this, that they have put out these somewhat half-assed apologies. Okay, there's no amount of corrections and fact-checking that is going to cause the Fox News faithful to turn on it. And again, this is what they regularly do. They go out and put some, absurd thing out there, that gets a lot of attention, that goes viral, spreads all around the conservative sphere. And then they do a weak little backtrack. But it doesn't matter because it's already out there. Genie's out of the bottle. My only hope is that normal, regular people are smart enough to realize that this is bullshit, that they realize what the game is, and that they should take anything that Fox News says with a gigantic shovel of salt. All right. Exactly. As the Star Checks points out in the chat, the damage is already done. I heard people in Georgia talking about it like it was the truth. Exactly. That was exactly my point. That's exactly my point. That's what Fox News absolutely does. And how do we combat that? Well, we do our best to put out the truth. And it's really all we can do. Hope normal people, normies, don't get affected by this. All right. Let's move on. A Fox News segment recently exploded into a streaming match after Geraldo Rivera had disagreed with one of the other people, that's Leo Terrell, on the subject of racism in policing. Let's take a look.
You're asking Leo.
Thank you,
how do we
Harris.
solve that? Go right ahead.
This subject is too important. I asked it right in front of you. Name me the town, name me the city. Then he goes and ignores the subject and wants to play the sympathy card.
Leo,
I'll ask you again because this is too important. Don't do that, Geraldo. Don't do that because there's too many people on the left and yourself lying about systemic racism. Harris asked about systemic racism.
Don't accuse me of lying just because I disagree with you, buddy.
All right, we can disagree without stepping over each other.
Name
Leo,
the police
go ahead
department.
and finish.
Oh, thank you, Harris. And all the viewers, ask Geraldo to name the police department and the city so we can get this systemic racism out. Because I'm sure there's a federal judge who's going to eliminate it. Name me the city and the town, Geraldo. You can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it because it's not just one city. You'd have to say all of them because it's not just understand that systemic racism is not localized in the cities. It is localized in the justice system in general. Okay? Police in general, individual officers don't have to be personally racist to uphold systemic racism. And I know you could make the semantic argument that, well, since they're upholding a racist system, that of course obviously makes them 100% racist. Oh, okay, you can have that argument. I'm not interested in getting into that argument because I'm not really focusing on the individual police officers, right? Or even the precincts in general. What I'm looking at is the system, systemic racism. It's about our laws. It's about how the justice system treats one person versus another person on the basis of both class and race, because those two things are absolutely intertwined. And not only that, but you also have the issue of personal connections. If you have a personal connection, almost guaranteed that you're not going to be treated the same way as somebody who committed a crime and do not have a personal connection, whether it be the son of a judge or the son of a lawyer, or well, not son of a lawyer, but a son of a cop. Okay, and how the law itself punishes black people harsher for the same or similar crimes than a white person. There's a lot of documentation and studies that show that this happens. And you don't even have to go that far. You can look at some of the more recent cases. For example, how a judge might feel sympathy for a white defendant and decide to give him a lesser sentence than they would a black person. The case of Brock Turner, of course, comes to mind. Brock Turner had according to the judge, had the rest of his life ahead of him. Oh boy, didn't want to ruin that boy's future prospects because his life would have been so good, even though he committed a rape of a woman behind a dumpster. And yet, at the same time, there are judges that will look at a black kid with drugs in their pocket and think, no, irredeemable. Go to prison for the maximum amount of time. That is systemic racism. Leo Terrell, the guy in the video here, deeply disingenuous. Okay, and what he is doing is basically defending white supremacy. Sorry. By saying that no, because you can't name one precinct, that means systemic racism doesn't really exist. Okay, and Geraldo, interestingly enough, Geraldo, now obviously he's got the lib position. So I'm not a lib. I'm to the left of him. Okay, but he's saying things that sound generally reasonable. Oh, we need some reform. We're going to need some tweaks here. And so in this next clip, I'm gonna show you his solutions for this, as well as first Harris Faulkner taking Leo Terrell's side, and then again Geraldo explaining exactly what he would do to fix it.
Are you saying that there's systemic racism to the point where you can paint with one brush all of those cops? Because I've lived in some of those places, and they're beautiful. I've lived in Minneapolis. That was my last market before I came here.
In those cities, I don't know why you were getting off on this issue. Okay, you're asking me how to make it better. Let's be constructive.
Harris, he won't answer your question.
Here's what I would like us to do. I would like us to abolish.
Let's let Geraldo answer.
I would like us to abolish most no-knock warrants. I think they are really very dangerous. I think we should abolish most chokeholds. I think we should have a major campaign to recruit black and Latino youngsters to be police officers. We should get a police department that reasonably reflects the community it serves.
Wow.
These are not unreasonable suggestions. This is the way to make it better rather than yelling at each other.
And I hear you saying that, and I don't know that. And look, people can yell, they can argue, they can agree to disagree. But are you listening to the police officers and the leadership?
Oh, what about the police? Why don't you listen to the police and what they want? Well, they're kind of the problem here. Again, Harris Faulkner, you're driving me crazy. What does the city being beautiful have anything to do with systemic racism? Oh, it's beautiful in Minneapolis. Okay. Oh, okay. So let me kind of address that, I guess. If you live in the nice, read white neighborhoods, there's actually not a ton of police there. You know why? Most of the police are in the poor neighborhoods. If you're a well-known and you're wealthy and you're a bootlicker like Harris Faulkner or Leo Terrell in this case, well, there's a good chance the cops are going to leave you alone. Oh, well, you're wealthy. And so, yeah, you might get a little bit of harassment because you're still black and you never escape that. But for the most part, if they know who you are and you're defending if you're always on Fox News defending the cops, oh, well, then they're going to be a little bit nicer to you. Okay. But again, systemic racism in policing doesn't happen as much in the wealthier parts of town because all the police are in the poor areas of town. Okay. They over police the poor and minorities. Now, as far as Geraldo goes, he is taking the typical lib position. Now, I don't agree with that. He thinks that you could tweak the system by banning some chokeholds and all that, stuff and hiring more black and Latino cops and all that stuff. And I don't think that's going to be far enough to actually fix the problem. Again, the issue here is the system. Okay, the issue here is the system. It's the foundation the police have been based on, which is the fact that they are formerly slave patrols. Their job was to protect property for the owners of that property, which again used to be only wealthy white men. So really, it's about upholding that system that was in place. Now, police have also always been a tool of wealthy white property owners. Businessmen, really. Look at the labor strikes, for example, in the 1800s, 1900s. The police have always taken the stand against white, I'm sorry, not against white people, but working class people, which also happen to be white. And one of their biggest fears was the white working class and the black working class getting together and fighting for races, for labor rights, and fighting against racism against the working class. And so, that is the history of policing in this country. You can't get around it. And over the decades, over the years, we have actually added more and more responsibility onto police while teaching them, basically how to kill people, and really stressing the my life is more important than the people that I'm supposed to serve. My life is the most important thing. And also, if you do not comply, if you don't listen to anything and everything that I say, then that's resisting arrest. We cannot have that at all. And so you have a situation where black people are getting shot at wellness checks, or 73-year-old grandmas with dementia are getting their shoulders broken, okay, or dislocated. And I don't think at all we should be surprised about this. This is what they're trained to do. Go after the enemy, which has always been the poor and the working class. That's why policing can't be reformed. This is why it has to change at a fundamental level. But nobody wants to have this conversation because, honestly, it's incredibly difficult to have this conversation. In even the tiny milquetoast reforms by Geraldo, if you've noticed, were scoffed at by Harris Faulkner. She's like, oh, what about the police? What about what they want? They're the problem. And again, she might be thinking, oh, here comes crazy Geraldo again with his lib ideas, with his super tiny milquetoast, barely whatever ideas. Yeah. Just evidence, more evidence that even the most moderate, voices, even on Fox News, will get ignored. Oh, yes. As one of you points out, systemic racism is clear in the cash bail system. You're absolutely right. That's another thing. It's like, I don't know. It's like the system is only made for rich people to get out of jail and for poor people to continue to have to spend time in jail. She's going along with the Fox narrative. Absolutely. And it's even more insidious than that, if you didn't notice. They love to get, Fox News loves to get black people on to then toe the white supremacy narrative on policing. And that's dangerous because, black people agree with me that police are 100% necessary in their current form. Again, I think police should go back to doing what they were supposed to do. Protect property, okay? And leave the wellness checks and all the other stuff to professionals, breaking up fights and things like that, to people who actually know how to do it. I mean, if you look at somebody All you have to do is hire somebody who was in an AFC home, who worked one of those adult foster care homes. They're able to de-escalate somebody with a knife like that without having to shoot and kill them. So there are people infinitely more qualified to deal with those types of things and save lives and de-escalate situations than police. So, anyway, moving on. We're just going to blow right through it. These stories. This one's a little bit of drums. You might disagree with me on this. A nurse in Oklahoma is suing his former employer after he was fired over a racist Facebook post. So now this Facebook post called for the lynching of a black man. Now, the Oklahoman reported that 41-year-old Kevin Mernon has filed a lawsuit against Norman Regional Hospital, where he had worked as a nurse for 19 years. The hospital fired Mernon on August 27th after he allegedly wrote a Facebook post about the shooting of a 5-year-old boy. Now, Mernon made this comment on a Facebook post from the Daily Wire. So already you've got Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's outlet, posting these stories about the shooting of a 5-year-old boy. So now, in response to the story, here's what he said, quote, "Get a big tall tree and a short piece of rope." Now, the story was headlined, "Black Man Arrested for Allegedly Executing 5-Year-Old Boy in Front of Sisters." And it was about, of course, the August 9th shooting of Cannon Hanat. So now, this poor kid was shot while riding his bike outside his father's homes by the neighbor Darius Sessoms. And he was arrested and he was charged with first-degree murder. As it should be. I mean, it's obvious. And so here's the thing. This was an absolute tragedy. No question about it. It really hurts to read about this sweet little boy, that was killed for absolutely no reason. The family, of course, is absolutely devastated. My heart still goes out to him. Now, my issue is how this is framed in conservative media. This was framed as liberal media doesn't want to talk about this because it destroys their narrative. They should be as outraged as we are. Why is BLM not out here? Okay, well, here's the thing about that, right? It didn't get the same amount of outrage, at least on that, okay? Because immediately Sessoms was arrested, charged, and will be punished. That's the system working as intended. And that's it. Good. Now, the problem with what happened with, for example, George Floyd, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, all these different black people that were killed by police, is that there was no immediate justice. There were no immediate arrests. And not only that, but in many of these cases, they went through the victim's past to try to justify their murder. Imagine if somebody did that with that. Well, you couldn't really do that with the 5-year-old. It's a 5-year-old. But take any, white victim combing through his past. Oh, he had drugs in his system. He did this, he did that, blah, 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 blah. That's sort of the problem here, okay? And with the cases of black people shot and killed by police, you had to push and you had to fight. And you had to demonstrate in order just to bring it to a point of where you start talking about accountability for these officers. And even in a lot of cases, a trial is no guarantee that you're going to get any sort of police accountability. And in this case, again, it's very, very clear Sessoms is not going to go free. We're all pretty content with that result. We wish it wouldn't have happened in the first place. It's a horrible loss of life. But it's incredibly unfortunate, but accountability will be had. There will be justice. But not to this guy. Mernon thought, no, that's not good enough. You know what we should do? We should lynch him. Take the law into our own hands and murder him. Maybe tie him to a tree, maybe torture him a little bit, throw a party while we're doing it, kick it 1800 style, you know what I'm saying? Bring a white hoods. Maybe allow people to take some collectibles home with the body. Well, it turns out that is not how we do things in civilized society. And we shouldn't talk about that because there has been a long, horrific history of black men that have had that happen to them in this country. But it gets worse. Vernon's attorney, Jack Tracy, then went on to say how his client is not racist. Now, immediately, when I hear that, wait, my client's not racist. If you have to say that, there's a good chance that the person is racist. Just saying. Now, here's the quote from the attorney. Kevin says, I'm not racist. I'm not racist, you know? Some of my best friends are black. God damn it. Oh, it's cringe. Oh, my God. He continues by saying, quote, I think they did him wrong. They've got some very fine doctors there, and I think very highly of them. But this is a matter of principle. The very fine doctors on both sides. God damn it, that's cringe. Oof. He also said, quote, you just don't go around and fire people for things on Facebook. He didn't call him an N-word. That's bad. That's your defense. That's the defense for this guy. Hey, at least you didn't call him an N-word. You know what I'm saying? He's got black friends. Totally not a racist. Oh, that's real bad. Now, the hospital is asking Cleveland County District Judge Tad Balkman to dismiss a lawsuit that this nurse is bringing to the hospital. Here's what they said. Set against the backdrop of the death of George Floyd and the nation's racial tensions boiling over in the summer of 2020, it is clear why the plaintiff's employment could not continue after that post drew scathing criticism from a member of the community who brought it to the attention of the defendant, according to attorneys for the hospital. All right. Vernon's post was short and to the point, resorting to a tried and true symbol of racism in America, the lynching of African Americans. The attorney then accused the hospital in the lawsuit of violating his established free speech right. Free speech. Free speech. Here we go. That's the argument here. The lawsuit then states, well, plaintiff was on his own time in his own corner of the world. The comment was made outside of the employment or his duties. All right, well, here's the thing about free speech, y'all. Free speech is not freedom from consequences. Basically, the First Amendment does protect you from the government coming in and cracking your head for saying things that you have said against the government. It doesn't say that you can't be fired by a private business for saying certain things. On a constitutional basis, this man has absolutely no case. None. Now, if you want to argue that people shouldn't be fired for things that they say online, that's an interesting conversation to be had. Personally, I might be a little uncomfortable. Again, all of this depends on context. Okay, all this depends on context. Okay? For me, I see people, if you post on Facebook or on Twitter, you're essentially taking a megaphone. It's almost the same. Slight differences, but almost the same as taking a bullhorn and walking through Main Street screaming out your opinions. That's what I see as somebody posting online. You want people to know. You want people to see that you're making this in a public forum. It's not like you're in a private group and they leak the DMs or doing anything like that, which would be bad enough as an owner if you're saying this stuff on, like on your own time. But again, this wasn't it's not as if this was private. Okay. A good rule of thumb that I try to follow is that if it's something that I won't say publicly to my boss, which I don't have a boss, but if I did, if it's something that I wouldn't walk up to my boss and say, then I probably shouldn't say it online. It wouldn't be a good idea. Okay. And again, there are differences between online and in person. Yes, but generally, again, if you're not willing to say it out loud, like you're not going to go into a room and scream out that opinion, then you probably shouldn't say it online. Okay. And so the guy clearly has some issues. And that defense is not very good. There's more, of course. In their motion to dismiss, attorneys for the hospital pointed out to the judge that the community member who complained was also easily able to identify Murnan from his Facebook profile as an employee. So again, it's not like, it's not anonymous. Again, it doesn't make the comment any better if it's anonymous, but at least it would protect him from being fired. And they also told the judge that Murnan was provided several other reasons for his discharge. Among them was that such comments, quote, can erode the public's confidence in the ability of employees to impartially exercise their duties without regard to race. That's a damn good point. If you are a racist, how can you be a good doctor? We have big problems in the medical community already. There are reports that some doctors literally believe that black people have thicker skin, or that they're more resistant to pain, or all these other things that have no basis in scientific facts, which leads, of course, to worse health outcomes for African Americans. Black women actually get it worse. They're actually treated far worse than anyone else when it comes to getting treatment for pain. Their pain is essentially ignored. They're given less pain medication because there's an assumption that either they don't feel as much pain or they're lying so they can have drugs. And that's how implicit bias and racism tends to crop up in the medical community. And so now there's more. In response, the nurse's attorney told the judge, quote, unfortunately, there seems to be a trend to find offended person behind every tree and to hold harmless those persons burning cities to the ground on the premise of offended feelings. Oof. Oof. Yikes. Fuck that. That lawyer, that attorney, that's a white nationalist shit right there. That's what that is. Everything about this guy, everything about that statement is total garbage. Trash lawyer, trash opinion. Are you literally trying to lose? Because you are not looking very good. Now, the lawsuit is seeking $1.2 million and is asking the court to block the hospital from firing people who espouse ideas that are, quote unquote, inconsistent with their liberal agenda. Garbage. So, no, let's recap here. The man has no case with the First Amendment. It's just the First Amendment does not protect this. Okay. And yes, that means the company can fire you under law for having opinions inconsistent with company values. If you embarrass your company and make people not want to be customers, which it's another kind of fuck, to even consider like people who are who need medical care as customers. That's a whole different conversation. Hey, we should have Medicare for all. Just saying. But yes, they can fire staff members for saying things that makes the company look bad. That's a part of their right as an employer. Okay, so legally, I agree with the hospital. Not only that, but the lawyer and this guy are massive pieces of garbage. Still, I am kind of curious about having a conversation of how far we go with that, as far as having unpopular opinions. Okay, and I think there is a conversation to be had there. Think of it this way, right? And I can see situations where this can get turned around for doing bad things. Okay, if you support sex workers, for example, like I do, I'm pretty open about it. I think sex work is real work. I think prostitution should be legalized, decriminalized, all that wonderful stuff. I have no problem with that. Now, you could say it publicly, and I do, absolutely. Now, your boss, however, might be a staunch Christian and might be thinking, oh, this looks bad for my company. Is this guy out there supporting hookers? Well, I don't like that. I'm going to fire you for this because it makes my company look bad. Well, shoes on the other foot in this situation. And again, the same rules apply. The Constitution does not protect you from that kind of speech. So, I am saying that you might want to think about the other side of the coin as well, and how many rights employers have to be able to fire people for having opinions that might not line up with theirs. And so, unintended consequences and all, even when your heart, of course, is in the right place, you want to do the right thing. That, of course, does not apply when it comes to the nurse. And so this guy, again, massive piece of trash. And I hope he loses his lawsuit. Simple as that. There you go. The one that murdered the 5-year-old is Darius Sessoms. He's somebody that the right wing will point to and say, why isn't BLM concerned with this person's life? And how come liberal media did not cover this and was not outraged about this? Sex work is hard labor. Oh my God.
There's some whores in this house.
Oh no.
Wet ass P word.
Also,
masturbate all day long.
Okay. I'm done with that one. Let's move on. Yes, legalized, regulated, and licensed. Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Hold. All right. You can blame the source for getting me hooked on seltzer. I'm now apparently in the pocket of Big Seltzer. There. Just good to come out. All right, anyway. The CEO of a telehealth company was recently fired after video came out of him harassing a teenage boy at prom. 18-year-old Dalton Stevens had worn a bright red dress to high school prom when in Tennessee. Now, Sam Johnson, CEO of telehealth company Visuel, saw him and apparently was not pleased about this. And so there was a video taken. There's actually 2 different videos taken. Unfortunately, the first one was taken down of the actual harassment, but I do have a video of the aftermath here. Let's take a look.
I chose that I would wear so you can off. Okay? Okay.
Is that right?
Think he looks gross? Looks disgusting? Yeah?
Yeah. You look like...
I look like what? What is like?
You look like an idiot.
Get the away from me! What does he look like? Oh! Do not... No, sir. No, sir. I can record you all I want. Keep talking.
Please.
Look like a moron. Get away.
Just try. It's kids. It's a bunch of kids. Come on, dude. Just don't let one thing about just please. Stop.
I'm sorry. I'm gorgeous.
Are you?
Yes. Yep. This is gorgeous. He's the one that's following us. We moved. Like, we moved from underneath over here.
Seriously, come on, dude. We don't want to bother.
Is it really worth it?
That smug look on his face the whole time. And it, I like the response by one of the young men. It's like, yeah, I look gorgeous. Goddamn right. Goddamn right you do. Rock it. Again, he's wearing a dress. Who cares? Who cares? Look, he can dress however he wants, right? It's not lewd exposure. It's not hurting anybody. You're an adult. Who cares? He wants to wear a dress to prom? Have at it. Have at it. Now, Heavy reported that Stephen's boyfriend, Jacob Geitman, originally posted a video on TikTok and then on Twitter. Now, it was, of course, taken down, the first one. But he said that his boyfriend, Dalton Stevens, wore the dress to try to break stigma around men wearing dresses. Which, again, everybody in the right wing is jumping all over like, oh my God, did you see that this person wore a dress? Oh my God. Oh, like, again, who cares? And in fact, according to Geitman, quote, he looked gorgeous. Everybody loved it, and nobody had a problem with it. Now, I remember being in high school. I know how mean high school kids can be. And it kind of shows how good our culture is, the fact that nobody had a problem with it in high school. In a high school prom, everybody's like, you go, dude. Hell yeah. I like it. I like it. Now, look, I remember... It's been 18 years since I graduated from my high school. A lot has changed socially, okay? Even I remember a couple of guys dressing up in skirts, dresses, whatever. It's fine. Nobody cares. It's just clothing. And I mean, really, it's not as if there was a former mayor of New York that's a Republican that didn't also dress up in full drag and get hit on by the ex-president of the United States. But understand, though, in the context of that, it was kind of presented as a joke. Haha, funny. Look at man in dress. I never found that particularly funny. Who cares? He's in a dress. He'll be fine. Which is why I'm actually glad this kid wants to destigmatize it. It's, again, not like it hurts anybody. And besides, if you look at historical fashion trends, it's not like men never wore dresses or skirts in the first place. I mean, take a look at that. That is high Albanian fashion. And also looks like a skirt. Just saying. And then, of course, you have the woman in there. Comparative. Again, who cares? Who cares? And when you dive into the history of why, people, like, why men have I wouldn't say evolved, but why fashion had evolved to where, men mainly wear pants, and actually came out of necessity for riding horses. It's kind of difficult to ride a horse in a long flowing gown or in a skirt, so it ain't easy. And so that's how it really came gender specific. You had men that would go out and do typically considered to be masculine things, and it turns out you couldn't do those things as well in a dress or a skirt. And so that's how trousers and pants kind of evolved. And really, it would affect how people dress, what they actually did as a vocation. So it kind of shows you how clothing isn't necessarily male or female. If this dude wants to wear a dress, it's good for him. A dress isn't necessarily a male or female thing. And now, as for the man who was mocking them, and it's probably a fan of Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder. He got fired. He got his just desserts. Okay. The board for that company, the telehealth company, was like, "Oh, that's it. No, we're going to replace you. You've made us look absolutely terrible." In fact, here's what they said. Quote, "We unequivocally condemn this behavior exhibited by Sam Johnson in a recent video widely circulated on social media. After investigating the matter and speaking to individuals involved, the Visuel Board of Directors has chosen to terminate Mr. Johnson from his position as CEO, effective immediately." Johnson told Newsweek that he did not harass Stevens and that his comments were edited to make them appear to be about the dress. Again, even if it wasn't about the dress, even if that were true, you're still harassing teenagers. Come on. Come on, dude. Come on. I have no ill will towards anyone or their personal choices, so long as it does not harm me or my family. You know what? Mr. Johnson, he's going to be fine. I think he's probably got a new, going to have a new career as a Fox News contributor. Just saying. Now, Geitman said he first recorded one incident on his phone, but had the device hit out of his hand. The video that is now viral appears to show Geitman's second attempt at filming. Geitman said once hotel staff intervened, Johnson feigned ignorance and denied accosting the couple. He pretends like he has absolutely no clue what's going on. He's standing there. He's like, "I've just been standing here the whole time. I don't know what's going on. I didn't just try to talk to them. I didn't hit them. I didn't try to smack the phone out of his hand." Right. Sure. And Geitman said in response, I'm like, dude, I have a minute-long video of you harassing me, so you can't just blatantly deny it like that. Geitman, who alleged Johnson was visibly intoxicated, said hotel staff eventually expelled him from the premises and called the police. He then, of course, posted the first video of the incident on TikTok, but said the platform took it down twice over, quote, harassment and bullying. This is a problem that I have with like the TOSs now. They don't look at context. If you're somebody who has been bullied, or if you are showing bullying or harassment, you shouldn't have that stuff taken down because it can be used as an educational context, okay? If you want to show people that this stuff exists and that it happens to people, it's good to have that up because you can have historical, not just historical, but you can put context to it and you can share what's going on. Context, I think, is incredibly important. It also makes it more difficult for someone like this to defend what he or deny what he said. Now, the question is, should they lose their job? Well, it's not my decision. It was the board's decision. Had I been a member of the board, I would have said, yes, I do not want someone like this representing my company. You are bullying a teen for doing something harmless. You're an adult. Go find something better to do. And if you can't, then, well, you make us look bad, so you don't get to be part of my company. That's just me. All right. One more here. A video recently released by the lawyer of the woman who had dementia, who had her shoulder dislocated by police officers in Colorado, shows officers laughing and high-fiving after her arrest. Now, the lawyer for Karen Garner, 73-year-old Colorado woman with dementia, who was arrested by Loveland police in a video that went viral, I showed this on my show, also showed that these officers, while refusing to provide her with medical attention, thought that this was awesome and hilarious, and they actually went and watched the body cam footage again because of how wonderful it was and how much fun they had arresting this woman. Take a look. Ooh. Okay. Wow. That's disgusting. Look, as you can see, they were happy about this. Like, oh yeah, I dislocated the shoulder of this 80-pound frail little woman. Oh, yeah. Look at how tough and amazing I am. Oh, look at that. Fucking ACAB. Holy crap. And I urge you to watch the whole video. It's 14 minutes long. And it's just disgusting. Now, this horrific statement, her lawyer, the lawyer for this woman, said this. The horrific statement comes to light after Ms. Garner's family hired a sound engineer to enhance the audio on Loveland Police Station booking videos from the day of Karen's arrest. The video reveals a grotesque culture of callous disregard for the health and safety of citizens. The officers fist bump one another multiple times in self-congratulation for both the assault on Garner and the intimidation of the citizen who attempted to complain about it. So that's what that last thing was about. Remember that the person that came to say, hey, I just saw you throw this child down. What are you doing? What's going on here? And the officer, famously replied with, well, you can't just make a snap judgment. You got to wait for the facts. Well, the fact was that she was 73 years old with dementia. She couldn't understand the instructions of the police and therefore was brutalized for it. Now, she said, the lawyer continued by saying, Loveland knew, they'd known all along. They failed Karen Garner, they failed the community, and they did it all on camera. Do you realize how horrifying that is? That means they were used to getting away with it, that the comfortable norm in Loveland is one of zero accountability, that this is not just some isolated incident, it is not one single problem, it is widespread sociopathic criminality. And to attempt to shift the burden to Karen or a bystander or her family or counsel to report this, shame on you, Loveland. You took an oath to protect and serve. This is a disgrace. Look, I'll be honest, I'm not sure I can really add anything else to this. I mean, my original commentary, you go back and see that, absolutely stands. And this just adds on to it. This is the, this is the icing on the shit cake. This is once again showing that the entire barrel is tainted. It is not just one bad apple. Guess what? One bad apple. It also spoils the bunch, and the bunch is spoiled. Okay. Now there's one more thing here. The lawyer also said that the arresting officers had lied about the jail staff, saying that the woman was uninjured despite having a dislocated shoulder. Now, as a result, right now, these officers are really not being punished. In fact, the arresting officer, Mr. Hop, has been only placed on administrative leave, and the two other officers have only been reassigned to administrative duties. So basically, easy office work while the matter is being investigated. And to date, according to the lawyer, the city has yet to extend any apology to Ms. Garner or her family for the various atrocities witnessed in these videos. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again, this is exactly why we need to defund and change the entire nature of policing. Tear it down, build it up as something different, because they're going to continue doing things like this if we only do reform. No, fix it at the root of the problem. All right. Anyway, I got to get going here real quick. Let me thank some people for super chats. Again, free speech is not allowed. Hate speech. RC from NYC, thank you. Really appreciate that. I'm glad to see you here watching the stream. We do streams every day from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. Let's go over here to Twitch here. Thank you, One Winged Dragon, for the 2 months at Tier 1. Much appreciated. All right, everybody. I got a meeting right after I get done here. So thank you all. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. All that wonderful stuff. Thank you so much. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
There's insanity in the control room.
Who's got a hammer?
I like my meat tight.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Please clap.
Masturbate all day long.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.